Hi, I'm Larry Richardson, your step-by-step chef. On tonight's episode, love is in the air. I know, ooh, don't click, hang in there. We're going to make a delicious salmon stir fry for two. And it's very easy to make and it has delicious ingredients in it. So grab your bag of rice or your Chinese noodles and come on, let's cook. And here are the ingredients for our salmon stir fry for two. We're going to use about a pound of salmon. I would say, 3/4 to a pound of salmon is perfect. Then 1.5 cups of chicken broth, 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. You can add an extra tablespoon if you like a thicker sauce. We're going to use 1 teaspoon of sweet cooking wine, 1 teaspoon of sesame seed oil, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 1 celery stalk, 1 medium zucchini, 4 green onions, 1/4 of a sweet red pepper, 1 jalapeno if you like a little bit of spicy heat in the dish, 1 inch of ginger, or 1/4 teaspoon of powdered ginger if you can't find the fresh ginger, 2 garlic cloves, and 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. So let me show you how to put all this together. So the first thing we're going to do is mix our sauce. Now, people like their stir fry a little saucy or a little less saucy. It depends on your taste. I like mine a little bit on the saucy side. And the first time through, maybe you want to make it the way I make it, and then you can adjust it thereafter. So I'm going to add my 1.5 cups of chicken broth. There we go. And then our 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, which is a thickener. And then 1 teaspoon of sweet cooking rice wine. 1 teaspoon of sesame oil, which definitely has a Chinese food taste to it. That is yummy. And that is absolutely a secret ingredient you have to have on hand if you're making Chinese food. You gotta have your sesame seed oil. And then we'll add our 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. And this is adjustable. You can actually adjust this when you taste the dish when it's done, or at the table. People can add it themselves. And that's our sauce. So we just give it a nice mix. And we'll have to do this again before we put it in the stir fry. But you just give it a nice mix. And if you like it a little bit thicker, you just add a little bit of more cornstarch ahead of time. But I can tell you, this already has a nice aroma for a stir fry. And when you buy those little packets of stir fry mix at the supermarket, the secret ingredient is the cornstarch. That's what causes the thickening. Okay, now let's prepare our veg. This is quite simple. Let's just take our celery stalk, cut it up the middle. I don't want huge chunks of celery in this dish, but they sure do add a nice crunchiness to it. So I'm just cutting them. They're about 1/4 inch thick, 1/8 to 1/4 inch thick slices. Oops, got ahead of me. There we go. Just put it right into this bowl. And now we'll take our zucchini and just cut off the ends of it. Quite simple. And then what we're going to do is quarter it lengthwise. And then we just quarter it the other way. And then we're going to just cut it into, again, 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch slices. And what I love about the zucchini is it adds color, flavor, and texture to this dish. Now normally I would add some bean sprouts to a stir fry. But quite frankly, when I'm dealing with fish that has a certain texture, I don't want bean sprouts in it. It's just me. I'm sure people make it and it's magnificent, but I'm leaving the bean sprouts out. They're usually a special guest star in my stir fries. So just keep adding this into the dish. And the thing I like to do is prep ahead of time. That's one of the secrets of good cooking, because you don't want to start anything, any cooking at all. I mean, unless you're baking something that takes like 5 hours and then you have these other ingredients. But you really want to have everything ready to roll, because when you get that heat going, you want to be able to throw it, all these different ingredients, right into it without a pause. And here's our green onions. So we're cutting off the rooty ends, otherwise known as the rooty ends, and then just making like little, 1/8 of an inch segments. And green onion, to me, is an essential ingredient of most Chinese cooking. It just has a fresh and zesty taste, and it's one of the reasons why I absolutely love Chinese cooking, Chinese cuisine. They really know how to put together these different ingredients, and they just play off of each other, and it just says, it just hits so many different notes. So this is going into Oh, I love that aroma. And it's such a nice spring aroma. Some of the first things we get in North America are chives and the first things to rise up. And what a gift. What a gift they are. Now I have my 1/4 of a sweet red pepper. I'm coring it, getting rid of the seeds. You don't want any of that in this dish. And then we're just cutting it thin, nice thin slices. And then we're just going to take it up. And I have to be honest with you, I'm adding this as much for the color as the taste. The presentation with a little bit of sweet red pepper is just magnificent. It contrasts with the green and the pink of the salmon, or otherwise known as salmon color, magnificently. It's just so delicious, and it's so appealing to the eye. And here is our optional jalapeno. Now, I really want a little bit of heat with this dish, and it just adds a little taste. But honestly, if you don't like heat, don't put this in there. And if anyone with you, since this is a romantic dinner for two, doesn't like heat, just skip it. I'm wearing this glove literally so it doesn't burn my fingers, which will eventually burn my eyes. And I'm just saying, you wear the glove when you're cutting hot peppers and you'll be fine. And it is a lesson that is, actually it's only once learned. And someday in a step-by-step, I'll tell you what happened to me, because it's kind of hilarious and kind of not. But a ghost pepper almost did me in. And that's one of the hottest peppers on the market. So just take your little jalapeno, if you decide to use it, and throw it right into your veggie dish. And next up is our 1 inch of ginger. Now, ginger can be intimidating to some people. And okay, I'll be honest with you. When I was experimenting in my kitchen, I was intimidated too. But once you peel an inch of ginger and you get that rich aroma, oh my goodness, it will take you to every delicious, delicious Chinese meal you've ever had in your life. It is so unique and such a gift. Absolutely love my ginger. But originally, just like you, I was afraid of it. So let's cut it paper thin. Unless you have a grater, you're welcome to grate this really fine too for this dish. But I don't mind mincing it. So first I'm slicing it very thin. It just gives you a flavor explosion. Sometimes you're sitting and you're eating Chinese food and you're like, boy, that's kind of good. And then one of these ginger spikes will hit your tongue and you're like, wow, just delicious. So now I'm just mincing it up with my knife. And again, if you have a grater, grate away. That's just great. I'm just going to throw that right in. Because the saute is going to be very quick. This can stand the heat. And the final prep work we're going to do is either mince, or I have this crusher garlic
right into the veggies. And like I said, sometimes I don't crush the garlic right into it because it can scorch or caramelize, which we do not want. But in this case, it's so little, and the stir fry is going to be so quick with the veggies that it's just fine. Just put those right on top. Now, doesn't that look delicious? I mean, you add a little bit of a salad dressing that has some ginger, has some soy sauce in it. You have a salad. But not today, because we're making our delicious Chinese salmon stir fry. So I'm going to see you over at the stove. Okay, so this deep skillet has been preheating over medium heat for about 3 minutes, and I'm just adding my 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. And then what I want to do is add our fish. So spread that over the bottom, and then just add the salmon. And we're just going to give it a fry that cooks it through. And don't worry if pieces of it flake off, because that's kind of the point of the stir fry, is we want the pieces to flake off, because then they'll be distributed with the vegetables and the sauce. Look at that, it's already browning quite nicely. And this is a very thin piece of salmon. If you have a thick piece of salmon, the initial stir fry might take a little bit longer. But because this is a thin piece, we have the skillet over medium heat, it's just going to take probably about 5 minutes to cook this through. And also, please make sure that whatever salmon you're dealing with is fully defrosted. You don't want to have to time it out thinking, well, there's an icy core in the middle of this salmon. So this will take about 5 minutes to cook through. Then we're going to stir the vegetables in, and everything will come together quite nicely. Now, if you're making this dish, start preparing, before you even add the salmon in, start preparing your rice or your Chinese noodles that you plan to prepare the stir fry with. You want to start that now, because the stir fry process is very quick. Look at that, browning quite nicely. And you can see the flakes starting to come off. I'm totally cool with that. That's what we're looking for. Now let's add our veg. I'm just going to give this a quick saute. And while that's sauteing, let's flake off the fish. Flake it off and mix it in. Now I want these vegetables to saute, but I don't want them to burn, certainly. Let's look for when they're a little bit translucent, and then we'll pour the sauce in. Wow. I wish you could smell these aromas, and this is even before we add the sauce. Now, we don't want to break down the fish so much that it's just these tiny flecks of fish food. That size is perfect. So let's just continue to stir it and get everything to start to saute. We're looking for the zucchini to start to appear slightly translucent. That's the point where it will be a little bit crisp, which is what we want. Okay, 5 minutes in. The zucchini is starting to look translucent around the edges, and that's when I like to stir up my sauce. Stir it up, get that cornstarch worked back into it. Yum. And again, you can add more or less, but just pour that in and get it to thicken up. And this will be perfect on rice or Chinese noodles. And if you like it saucier, add a little bit more. So now we still have it over medium heat, and we're just waiting for that sauce to thicken. This again will take probably about 5 minutes, and everything will be cooked through perfectly. So congratulations, look at what you just did. You just made this delicious salmon stir fry for two. Now if you want the printable recipe for this, please visit my website, stepbystepchef.com. There you will find printable recipes for salmon stir fry for two and well over 100 breakfasts, lunches, and dinners, and a couple of desserts. I mean, I've had millions, over 11 million views of my videos. That's how much people love them. So I want you to take a look. Take a look. And if you like this, man, you'll love the other recipes. And while you're there, you might also want to consider buying my cookbook, Cooking with the Step-by-Step Chef. This saves you the time of printing all the free recipes on my site, and I will update it annually. So eventually, this salmon stir-fry recipe will be in this book for you, your family, and all of your friends who want to cook. Cooking is easy when you do it the step-by-step way. I'm Larry Richardson. I am your step-by-step chef, and I'll see you in the next episode.